I'm just getting ready for the Global BA Standup. Logging in over here for people on the live. So if you're watching this and you have not joined our live, you can go to karaleise.com. It's my name, KARALEISE.com. And then you'll see a pop-up that says join the live. And when you pop up on the live, when you click on the pop-up, then you'll see a way to join our meeting. So in this live, we're going to be talking about starting a six-figure career as a business analyst. You're going to learn about how to become a BA. We have people going to join the meeting. They're going to have questions. I'll be answering it. So if you're looking to change your career, or if you know about business analysis and you want to become a business analyst, it's a very lucrative career. It's a good way to get started in tech. And so this is a great forum for you to join, discuss. We have this every month on the first Monday of every month at 12 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to learn, stick around and we will be doing that today. So let me join the Google Meet because people are on the call waiting for me. So let me join over here. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy to see you guys here. Thank you all for joining. This is the Global BA Stand-Up where we're going to be talking live about business analysis. Like I was telling the people on the live, we do this every single month. So I'm very happy to be here. June has been quite a crazy month for me. It's my birthday month. I had my birthday on the 28th of June. And it was great, but I just had a lot of problems throughout the month. And I was literally happy that the month ended. I was very happy. I couldn't even wait till my birthday. I had car trouble. I had issues with just all kinds of problems. So I don't know. It's the worst June I've had in a long time. Normally June is a happy time. It's summertime. The kids are out. You know, the pool is open. You can do all these things. But I just had a bad run of it with all the different issues that I was facing. So I'm happy to be out of that month. And July has seemed to be better. And I feel like we're moving in the right direction. Finally. So I'm happy that you guys are here. Thank you all for coming. I see some familiar faces. Let me see the people who I know have always been here, and the people who are new. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Cynthia. Welcome, Cynthia. Devon is here. These are members from the back office club also. Leticia, I've seen you before. Margot is back. Margot, welcome again. Monica, welcome, welcome. If you're new here or if you're here from before, you want to put in the chat where you're watching from, that would be awesome. Put it in the chat so I can see where on the globe you guys all are. So again, we are the Global BA Stand-Up, so it's great that you guys are here. Marie on the live says, hi from London. Hi. You know, we have a lot of people from the UK. I'm very happy to have a lot of UK support, and Spain, yeah, Spain. Although, you know, so because we do it in English, people who are in non-English speaking countries still join and they still enjoy it because a lot of people speak English or they translate it. I'm not sure, but that's great. So yeah, London, Spain, UK, nice, nice, awesome. South Florida, awesome. Thank you, Amy, for joining from South Florida. That's nice. Let's see, Charlotte, North Carolina. Oh my God, I need to go to North Carolina. I have it on my bucket list. I need to go because I'm a person that loves waterfalls, and you guys have some really amazing waterfalls up there. Georgia has nice waterfalls too, but North Carolina is on my bucket list. Canada, oh my God, Canada, welcome, welcome. UK, again, more from the UK. Leticia, thank you. Awesome. So we really are global, right? We have a lot of people all over the place. Joshua is from Kenya. Yes, Joshua. Joshua is also my assistant, so I know he's from Kenya. Lagos, Nigeria. Nice. I also have a lot of support from Nigeria. And even the Nigerians who are not in Nigeria, but they're here in the US or in the UK, I have a lot of support from people from Nigeria. I have so much respect for the Nigerians. Whenever they come here, they excel. They just excel so fast. I'm very, very impressed with the dedication to education and to bettering their career and just improving themselves. I've always found that the Nigerians that I've dealt with have been amazing, and I really appreciate y'all's support as well. So that's awesome. All right, so what are we talking about today? So for those of you who are new, we are talking today about business analysis, right? It's a career that a lot of you may have heard about and some people may not know about, but it's a very lucrative career and it's a great entry into tech. So if you want to be in tech, but you're like, I don't want to write code, I don't want to sit at my computer all day staring at black screens. Those movies give you the impression that all technology people do is stare at black screen and on their computers all day long. You don't want to do that. You're a more sociable person. You want to talk to people. You want a job that you can interface with other people. The business analyst career is great for that. So if you've never heard of it before, business analysis is a great career to get into tech without having to be deep in writing code. Right? I started in college. I did computer science, and I wrote code, and I was a programmer for one part in the beginning of my career, and I didn't like it that much. Not because the main thing I didn't like about it, I like to write code to fix problems, right? But what I didn't like was that every time I mastered a language, by the time I turn around, there's a new language. So I would master PHP, I turn around, we went to Java. Then you turn around, you go into something else. So I always have to be chasing behind these languages, and it's fun if you really love that, but I felt like I don't want to do that for the rest of my life, and I would almost quit the career if I didn't get a job. I had applied for a job in support, actually, back in Jamaica. I'm Jamaican, by the way, and the person who interviewed me said, you know what, I think you'd be good as a BA. I'm like, as a what? As a BA. And I didn't know what this BA role was. And they kind of guided me, helped me, and I got started, and I took off like a rocket. Like, oh my God, this was the thing. This was the thing I was waiting on. I didn't know what it was called. And so we haven't done a good job as a community to let the world know that this career exists. A lot of people just stumble into it. They work on something else, and then they find out about BA, and that's how they become a BA. Like well, now it may have changed, but back when I was going to college, nobody really had this as a career path. You end up becoming an engineer, you end up doing, computer science, and you do stuff like that, or data analysis, but you didn't do business analyst, and that's the real shame. I think part of my goal, and part of the reason why I have the YouTube channel, and why I do the back office club, and why I do all these things, is to try to let people become aware, right? Try to help bring the awareness to the career, because hey, we need more people, right? We do need more people to be expert in the field. And, as we become seasoned, it's kind of our job. I feel like it's every professional's end goal should be to train up the people coming behind them. It should be to pass on the knowledge, because you're going to leave the career, you're going to retire someday, you're going to go on and do something else. But if your knowledge that you gained, if you can kind of guide another person, that would be great. Some people do that quietly, like they do it in their role. Maybe they have an understudy. Maybe they have somebody who's junior to them and they train them. So people are giving back, but as much as you can help, I think is great. So for me, I try to help as much people as I can with my YouTube channel and by helping you to be aware of the career and consider it. Maybe it'd be the best fit for you. Not to mention it's a 6-figure career in the US. Not to mention it's highly paid. Not to mention you get to be analytical, which means that you're not just doing the same thing, punching the same buttons every day. You're really thinking about stuff, and you're really analyzing, and you're helping software development teams to build the right thing because you own the requirements of what they need to build. Now, there are different types of BAs. So you could be a functional BA, you could be more on the reporting side, you could be in more process improvement side, but you really are spending most of your time helping teams, helping the business goal to be accomplished through your approaches, through your documentation, through talking to stakeholders. There's many techniques, right? But you help them to achieve the goal that they have, because sometimes they have the goal and they have the team that can do it, but they don't know how to put the things together. You're like a bridge. You're between what the business wants, what the technical team can do. Sometimes you're between what the business wants, what the processes are. So you help to make things much easier, and you have to make it much more streamlined. Companies that don't have a business analyst, they struggle. They struggle because there's a lot of problems that they don't know how to solve. It takes longer. And somebody eventually plays the role of a BA. So even if you don't have somebody with the title of business analyst, because somebody has to do it. Somebody has to be the middle person. Somebody has to facilitate the communication. Somebody has to facilitate the meeting. So people will play the role of a BA without having the formal title. And that's what a lot of you find yourselves in. And then when you want to get a job, you're like, but I've never worked as a BA before. Oh, yes, you have. You just didn't get the title of it. Right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to take some questions. We normally do this, take some questions to see if anybody has any questions about starting their role as a BA. Or if anybody have interview questions, they're going up for an interview, they got asked some questions, how to deal with that. Or if you have a job as a BA and you're working on a project and you're like, oh my goodness, I need help with this particular thing I'm working on, we'll also help you with that. So we can go in multiple directions like we always do. So before I get into that, let me see. Some people are here saying hello. Hi, people. Rika Hota on the Instagram. Hi, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Farabase, Gracie, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining from Texas and New Jersey. I appreciate that very, very much. All right, so let's jump into the meat of the matter. Before I go into asking questions, I had some things I wanted to call out that has happened that I researched over the last time we met together in June. So as you guys know, the economy, right? We have crazy things happening here in the US, okay? Everybody in the world knows we have a lot of crazy stuff going on. And I like to sit back and think, how does it affect me? How does it affect my career? And how can I make sense of it to help you? So I will say that right now we do have a little bit of a pickup in hiring in the US. I can only speak for the US, that's where I live right now. I'm in Atlanta. So for people in different parts of the world, this might not be too relevant, but I'll still tell you what's going on over here. Because typically when things happen in the US, they cascade over the rest of the world. So I'll just tell you. So there is a little bit of an uptick in hiring practices. So it's not back to like, I don't know, 2021 or so, when right after the pandemic and people were like leaving their jobs and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. We do have a little bit of uptick, which means that there's just more jobs out there, but we still have a lot of people who got laid off. And so there's lots more people applying per job. So yes, there's more job, but then you have a whole lot of people applying per job because the talent pool has gotten bigger from the amount of people that have been laid off. So I have seen a little bit more BA roles also on LinkedIn, which is good. I use LinkedIn mainly as my source of information because I know we have other job boards, but I find LinkedIn to be the most reliable. So we do have more jobs coming out on LinkedIn. Hiring rose by 5.2% between April and May of 2025, which is a good sign that we're actually getting people hired. It's still not good enough, in my opinion, because we definitely have a lot of people are applying for the same roles. We do see that because of the talent pool being bigger, like there's a lot more talent. Like you're not competing against just new graduates. You're competing against people who have 10, 15 years experience, who have been let go or laid off over the last couple of years. So there's a lot more competition for people who are coming in who don't have the experience, who haven't worked for 5 years. So now you feel like, oh my God, I have to make up something. I have to go lie on the resume to try to compete with these people. But it's not always the case, right? So there is still people being hired. And there's also a shift towards, I would say, more domestic employees. In other words, it hasn't happened yet, but I can foresee that there is a preference towards local talent. Whereas in past years, it's been outsource, right? We're going to outsource everybody from different parts of the world, from India mainly, for developers, and there are other places. But we've always been lucky enough as business analysts to be more domestic. So whereas, for example, in some of my projects, we have a lot of people who I work with are in India, they're in parts of Europe, sometimes South America. The BAs tend to be more domestic, more local. So that's kind of a good sign if you live in the US. If you live in other parts of the world, that's also good because they might want the BA to be local and then they don't mind the developers or QA to be somewhere else. Why? Because the BA is like the bridge The BA is the person pulling everybody together. The BA has the requirements. The BA needs the context of what we're building in the country that they're in, right? So they tend to be more local, more domestic with hiring the BA, which is great, so you can have less competition globally, at least. Still competition within your area, but at least you're not competing against everybody in the world. So those are just some of the things I've noticed in terms of the job market. And so I just want to still encourage a lot of people who have been in the job market for a while. I also want to say this. There is a tendency for people who want to become a BA. This is what I've noticed over the last couple of years. So you want to become a BA, you heard about this career, you know that if you become a senior BA, you're making well into the six figures if you're in the US, right? So 120 and up, you're making that kind of money. So people who are in their regular jobs, like, I got to jump out of this job and I got to be a BA. And it's fine. You should aspire to get more money, right? Wanting more money is not a bad thing. You need to work towards getting more money. That's what you should. I mean, there's value in doing work. There's value in doing something meaningful, but you got to get paid. You got to get paid for it. Bring on the money. So I'm fine with that. But the way you get there is what I'm always trying to encourage people to do it the right way. So people are saying, hey, I can make six figures in this career. I don't like what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to do 3 months or so of a boot camp. And in the boot camp, they'll teach you, high level stuff about how to be a BA, right? So it's not going to go in depth because you can't take something that would take somebody a 4-year college and crunch it into 3 months and then you have the same level of education. You're not going to get the same level. You're going to know enough to maybe go through an interview, but you're not going to know enough to be able to work the job, right? So just set the expectation. So what I've seen them do is they do a 3 months boot camp and then they start applying. And the boot camp might give them the reference. The boot camp might give them, a place to say that they've worked, or all kinds of combinations of things are happening, right? So people are doing whatever they can do to get started. I'm not going to knock you for that. But then people get discouraged when they do their first interview, they don't get the job. Or they do the second interview, they don't get the job. And then they're there for maybe 2 months in the job market and they give up. Like, oh, I'm probably never going to be a BA. Like, I want to reset your frame of mind, right? So to become a BA, you still have to learn the techniques. Yes, you can do the boot camp. Yes, you can do whatever you have to do, but you need to understand the approaches because it's going to come out in the interview. So you need to spend a lot of time understanding how to do the job. And I put a lot of free videos out there. I have a lot of free materials on karaleise.com. I have a lot of stuff that you can benefit from, right? And I also have the Back Office Club, which is my membership program, where we work on real projects. We discuss things weekly. We have stand-ups twice a week. We have training once a week on Wednesdays, except for the last Wednesday of the month. So you get 3 in-depth training with real material. So you can think about that. It's more of a continuous learning than a 3 months and push you out and try to get a job now kind of thing. So it's continuous. So you get constant support while you're doing the interviews, while you're doing even if you get the job. And you need to understand how to land your first project and to be successful in your first project. The Back Office Club will give you that support to help nurture you, and then you can fly. You can take your wings and go, and you won't need us anymore. That's okay. I don't mind you come to us while you need help. And when you don't need us anymore, it's okay. I want you to graduate from us, right? So that's where I want to get you to the point where you're so confident, you're so knowledgeable that you can take on any project and feel good about working it, right? But people are losing their faith. They're losing confidence in being able to become a BA, only having done a 3 months boot camp and only having applied to 1 or 2 jobs. You've only done like 1 interview, right? You've done 1 interview, you want to give up. There are people in the job market for a year, people in the job market for a year and a half, because of what I just explained, that there's a lot more talent in the pool right now. And even though I see a change, it's turning. We're having more jobs being advertised, which is a good sign, and more hirings happening, but it's not at the rate that would match the amount of people who are in the job market. But it's a good sign. At least it's not going the opposite direction. So I want to encourage you that anything that's worth having is going to take a little bit more time and dedication and effort. But I've never seen anybody dedicate themselves fully to something and not have a good result. Like, God blesses you. God blesses the effort that you're putting. you're going to make it. You're going to get it. You're going to be making that six figures, and you're going to be confident in how to do the job when you get it. So I see some people getting discouraged and dropping out early, and then I see other people who they do a lot of fancy stuff. I wouldn't say lying, but I say a lot of fancy stuff to get into the interview, right? And then they get the job. And once they get the job, now they realize, oh my goodness, I actually have to deliver on the fancy stuff I talked about in the interview. So now they're panicking and then they fall apart. So I just want to encourage you that if you even got the job and you're not sure how to do it, you also have support. You can find us, you can find me, you can find the Back Office Club, you can set a consult. There's so many different things you can do that would help you to keep it. Because the thing about being a BA is that you can't hide. There is nobody to hide behind. You can't like bullshit your way through it. Okay, you have to actually do the job, or you're gonna be found out, because your output is the input for the other teams. So if you have nothing to give them, they're gonna notice. All right. So it's just a little bit of a longer road to get there, but you have to keep sticking to it. You can't give up so fast. You can't give up so easy. Stick to it. You will end up getting the role. You will make the money, and you'll be in a better career than probably what you're in right now. All right. Okay, that's enough of me talking. I want to open the floor up to anybody on the call who have a question for me that I can answer. And if you're not on the call yet, go to karaleise.com. It's my name, KARALEISE.com. And then you'll see a pop-up. Click on the pop-up. It'll give you the meeting details. You join the meeting and you can ask a question. And the questions here is anonymous. So you're not being shown on the live. So you can ask. It's only the audio. So you don't have to be afraid to ask your question. Feel free to ask your question loud and proud. All right. Loud and proud. All right. Does anybody have any question that you guys want me to answer regarding the business analyst role?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got my first business analyst job about 1.5 years ago, which was awesome, mostly thanks to all your videos.
Yeah.
But I got unfortunately laid off because of the travel bans and everything going on, and I supported international students on June 11th. And so I'm just wondering how the job market seems to have shifted even since I got my last role. Do you have an estimate of how long you think it may take someone with some experience, like 1.5 years of experience, to get a job? I am getting calls. I think my resume is doing its thing, but I'm just wondering, like, how long maybe does it take the average business analyst with some experience to get a job? And are there any particular things that we should have on our resume? I think last time you mentioned like SQL, Power BI, maybe some AI capability. Is there any other advice?
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry, Monica, that you got laid off. I've been laid off many times, and each time it's been like, oh my God, here we go again. Like every time. And I was laid off because I worked a lot with small startups, and they go bust. I work with them. They get a big influx of money from some investor or something, and then the company doesn't pan out, the product doesn't pan out, and then boom, everybody gets laid off. So I understand the pain of that, and I'm very sorry that happened to you, and especially because of travel ban and things that are probably wasn't necessary. Right. It's a pain, but yeah, so I'm sorry about that. So going back into the job market, yes, there is, again, like I said earlier, there is a lot more talent because of people like you and other people who may have even more experience than you. You only have 1.5 years. So it's a little bit tough, but I would say that there isn't a way to gauge how fast you get another job and how long it's going to take for you to get another job, right? I've seen people get laid off and get rehired pretty quickly within a month, and I've seen people who have been in the job market for like almost 2 years. So it's all over the place. I will say that there are some things that you can do to try to obviously get your foot in the door faster. Like you said, the resume doing its thing is a good sign. If your resume is not giving you any calls at all over maybe a 3-4 months period, then that's definitely a big red flag. Something is going on with your resume. You need to take action on that right away, because you should be getting some call, right? And I don't mean the Indians sometimes, and I don't know, shout out to the Indians, but there's a lot of Indian people, I don't know why, that tend to send me emails and send some of my colleagues emails, and we're not even in the job market. Like, how did you get, and this is not my public emails, not my private emails, so maybe there's a data leak somewhere. But I don't mean those, like, kind of not so secure kind of ways to get a job, like people telling you they have jobs for this and this, and they're like, I didn't even reach out to you, how did you get my information? But there are legitimate jobs that you can get. The thing about it is having the right resume, making sure the resume is compatible with the automated systems, the ATS, so that you can go through. So the fact that you're getting some calls is a good sign. Um, Other things I would say is you kind of can be proactive. I mean, this is something you're probably doing already, but if you see something advertised on LinkedIn, maybe you can go check the company's website and see what else they have, because a lot of times the company will pay for one or two roles, but if you look at their website, they have a lot more roles and maybe a lot more different locations. So maybe that's a cheaper way to see what else they have. And sometimes the companies don't call the role business analyst, they call it product analyst, they call it product owner, they call it whatever. So you kind of have to be chasing down like, what do they call the role? But what you're doing is really business analysis. So if you look at the company website, you might see other options that might fit what you're looking for. Those are some of the things. There's tools out there now. I've seen one person who demoed, like in our back office club, we have members who share internal knowledge, and there was one person who demoed some really creative tools that help to aggregate jobs and help you to apply to multiple jobs at once. I don't remember the name of it right now. If you remember, you can put it in the chat. Right? But there are tools out there now, AI tools, that can help you to apply to more jobs and to find jobs that really match what you're looking for faster. Maybe that could help you. So those are just getting in. Once you get the call, let's say you get a recruiter to call you, some of the things that you can do is when you're talking to the recruiter, make sure you highlight your results, right? What have you accomplished in the year and a half that you've been there? You don't have to mention the time because a year and a half sounds small, but you can just mention the accomplishments that you have. I also think that you should lean away from trying to spit out the tools that you know. I see a lot of people do that. Oh, wait, I know Jira, I know DevOps, I know all this stuff. That's cool. You can name drop, but people want to see results. Like how do you have the best approach, the best results, regardless of what tool you're using? So if you skew more towards the results that you've had and the way you've helped the team, those are kind of things that recruiters and hiring managers want to hear. So once you get into the room with them, those are some of the things that you need to highlight. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a number of other things that I can go into, but I do have a consult that goes through this. I think you've done that consult before. So I'm really sorry to hear that you got laid off, but I think when you get to a question like why are you looking for a new job, being laid off is probably one of the best answers you could give, because it shows it's no fault of your own. You're doing a great job. The circumstances of the economy and the politics has caused you to be laid off. So that's actually giving you a good reason to want a new job, which everybody can understand. So I'm looking
Thank
for,
you so
yeah.
much. Appreciate it.
All the best with that. And if you need any help, you can reach out to me as usual. And if you need any materials, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. Maybe I can help you with some of that as well. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Monica. Ebenezer. I hope I'm saying it right. Ebenezer. Go ahead. What do you have for us? What question do you have? Would you like me to answer?
Yeah. Good evening, Karaleise. I hope I pronounced your name well. So I'm
Karaleise,
from
yes.
Lagos, Nigeria.
Welcome.
So my question is this. So I'm just trying to pivot into the business analysis role, but as an upcoming business analyst, I think I've so far I've searched online trying to look for um, um, how to develop myself personally as a business analyst. That's when I came across your platform, where I saw some case studies where I can actually practice on my own self. But it's not as common as other tech roles, like you have data analyst, product manager, and other tech roles where you can see hands-on skills where you can actually practice. I actually found it difficult to get case studies like where I could actually build myself. So my question is, how can I, as an upcoming business analyst, personally develop myself? Because I'm just trying to pivot into the role, and I don't have any skill currently. Though I'm trying to take case studies on your platform that I've seen and trying to work on them and see how I can develop myself. But are there other ways you're going to suggest for me as someone is upcoming to build and develop myself as a business analyst. So that's my question for now.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you've taken steps to find out. Like a lot of people want to do something and it just stays there. So I'm happy you've taken steps. You've been searching on YouTube. You end up finding my content, and then from YouTube you went to the channel. I mean the website, and you were able to find the case studies. So I'm happy. I like to see people actually do the actions, right? So they get a little crumb here, they go over here, they get more, they get more, they get more. I love that because it shows dedication. It shows real interest, right? You're not just superfluous. You're trying to actually get the knowledge. So I'm happy to see you doing that. So the thing about starting your career, and you rightly mentioned that, is that sometimes there's not enough good information out there. One of the things that I tried to do with my channel was to try to provide more details because I had the same problem when I was coming in. I was like, okay, where can I find information? And the thing I was finding, it was correct, but it was so fluffy. It was fluffy. Like, okay, tell me exactly how you do it. And there wasn't a lot of that. And even when I did the courses and I paid to go to some of these courses and I paid a lot of money to learn some of it because I was new when I first got my first BA job, I didn't feel prepared. I felt like, yeah, I learned something, but how do I apply it? So I felt like there was a gap. So I tried to close that gap with the information. So the case studies is probably going to be the best way you can practice what you're learning. And so maybe I can have more case studies. I do have a lot on the back office club, and I have a few on Karaleise.com that you can practice. But there is enough free. You don't have to pay for them. There's enough free case studies on Karaleise.com that you can practice with. And even the ones that says paid, you can see the problem. You just have to pay for the answer. That's like $15. But you can look at the problem and then you can attempt it to say, okay, how would I do this if I was a BA? But I would say before you can attempt solving it, you have to get the knowledge, right? So watching the videos that I have on the different topics, but also the IIBA has some information there. So if you go to iiba.com, they have materials, they have some, case studies as well that you can read. There's also a chapter. You're in Lagos, right? So there should be an IIBA chapter in Lagos that you could join, and you could physically go to the chapter meetings and just be a part of the conversation, network with people, see what they're doing over there. And that would be a good way. My voice is going. That would be a good way for you to also network with people, and hopefully, if they know of any connections that could help you, you could do that too. So as an up and coming person, you have to invest in your education. So you probably need a tutor to guide you, right? So if you want to do something where you're physically showing up, like you want to, some people learn better in person, right? So there's a program in Nigeria that you can go to physically, so you're dedicated time to learn. I think that would be a good way also, just to have like a physical location where you're focused and you're not distracted by anything online. You could do that, or you can do an online course. I have several courses on the Back Office Club, but there are many other creators also who have good courses as well. So you can take your pick. So you can do a course online. So you can kind of be guided, right? Because otherwise, sometimes you're looking at this video and then that video and that video, and it's all kind of all over the place, and you might be distracted. So I have playlists on my channel, so you can watch a playlist, in order. So I try to organize it, and I also have, if you go to Karaleise.com, I have free courses that is really a compilation of the YouTube videos that are in a sequence, so that you don't just watch random videos, right? So you can try that first to get the knowledge in, but you could also look into if there's anything physical in your location that you can go, and then also look at the Lagos chapter of the IIBA that might be able to help you to meet people in your neighborhood that could help you get started as well. Hope that helps. And of course, as you learn more stuff, go get the case studies, practice them, because if you don't practice with the real world problems, you're not going to know if you really can do the job, because the case studies I have are from real projects. So if you can master those, that will help to build your confidence to do the job when you get it. All right, hope that helps. All right.
Very well. Thank you very much.
All right, who we have next? Somebody else have their hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, Karaleise, everyone.
Hi.
I think it's good morning from my end here. How are you doing
Where,
today?
where are you again?
Winnipeg, Canada.
Winnipeg, nice. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's always a joy joining you and hearing you talk about all that you talk about. Thank you for all you do.
Hey, thank you. I'm happy you're here.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you have some free courses and at your web back office club. I think I actually got a mail to that effect, and I tried searching for those courses, but I was not able to get them. Is there anything I'm missing out?
So the free courses are on Karaleise.com. And on Karaleise.com, we have, there's a tab that says free courses. And it's really a compilation of the YouTube videos. So you can find them on YouTube anyway, but I put them together based on the topics I'm covering on Karaleise.com. So you can watch them in the right sequence, right? On backofficeclub.org, that's where we have our membership, and I actually have a t-shirt for it. That's where we have our membership, but we have additional courses there, but those are not free, those are paid. And we have a special right now, so it should be discounted. But those are courses that are very, very in-depth, where we go into a lot of detail. We work with real projects. You get to understand how to take a project from zero all the way down to having the deliverable of the requirements. And the best part of it is it's a live session, almost like this, where we taught for like 4 hours. We used to call it Insightful. We probably do it again, but at the time we had it called Insightful. And we taught very much in depth with a live audience. And so we have all the questions that was asked in that session. So when you do the course on the Back Office Club, you get a very thorough, more in depth with a real case study. And you also have the answers to the questions that the people in the audience asked, which may be the very questions, same questions that you have. So you really get a thorough learning. And plus we have quiz, we have downloadable documents and all the stuff that you normally get in a course. So it's a little bit more robust on the Back Office Club, so I would recommend that. But if you just want to get started and you just want to learn and you just want to know what is a BA, what's a BA role, how do you work on projects, you can start with the free courses on Karaleise.com. And when you're ready, you can get a paid course over at backofficeclub.org.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We have, let's see, Mohammed. Go ahead, Mohammed. Welcome.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Thank you for this presentation. My question around AI.
Yeah.
I see AI has driven the data analyst and data science job to the roof. And right now, as a business analyst, how do I position myself to be on the upfront of the AI, including the data analyst?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because that's where I'm looking at too. I feel like as the world turns, you kind of have to be on the edge with the world turning with it. Otherwise, you get left behind, right? So you have to bend where the world is going, and it's going into AI. We're not getting away from this. It's not going back in the tube. It's like toothpaste that came out. It's not going back. We'll always have AI. AI is here to stay. So we have to upskill. We have to upskill. There's no way around it. Right now, we can get away with what we're doing because a lot of companies are still new to how they can incorporate AI into whatever product or service they're selling. I'll tell you, for example, I work in banking, and right now we're all about how to make AI into banking. Like, is the AI empowered banking, right? What they've said, though, everybody I've talked to, whether it's they're focusing on machine learning or just generative AI, they've always said that right now, for the business analyst, it's assisting, like it's human assisted by AI. So the AI is not coming to take over our jobs right now, at least. It's how can we work better with AI. So there's two parts of it. So you mentioned AI and data analysis as in the sense of you becoming a more AI driven BA and working alongside AI. There's that, or even working on AI projects. That's one part of it. The other part of it is how can you do whatever you're doing today better by using the AI. So because I work in banking, they don't really allow you to use ChatGPT, right? So I can't just take my data and just upload it to ChatGPT and say, tell me what the data says. Like, I can't do that. They don't allow you to, like, put really personal, and, the company probably would get sued for all that stuff. So we're not allowed to use ChatGPT on the job. But there are opportunities for us to use whatever we already have to make it smarter. So we do have projects that their sole goal is to incorporate AI in a safe way, within the banking platform that I'm working with, right? So there's so much push towards AI. So one of my my undercover goal is to try to wiggle my way into one of those projects, right? A project that's working on AI. So those are some of the ways that you can upskill. If you already work for a company that's moving towards the direction of AI, is there a way to get on that project that you can actually be exposed to it? And the good thing is nobody's an expert per se yet as a AI BA, right? Nobody's like, okay, I have 10 years of experience being an AI BA. So we're all in the same boat almost right now. We're all learning how to work with AI or alongside AI. So there isn't a lot of competition, like there's not big edge for anybody else. But the good thing is because you're a BA, all of your skills can apply regardless of the industry or even the technology that you're using, right? So you can work with a team that's building AI, but it's the same thing you're going to be doing, listing requirements, talking to stakeholders, working with developers. You're going to be doing the same kind of tasks. So it's just been exposed to how that manifests itself, and it's probably going to be obviously more developer heavy, like so you're dealing with more with developers and trying to figure out what they need and support them with the requirements than you would be with the regular business stakeholder, because the business stakeholder doesn't know what they need yet. They themselves have not yet reached as far as what the AI can provide, so it's going to be more mainly tech driven. So that's one. Data analyst, you mentioned that, so that's also interesting. I think it's good for all BAs to have some exposure to data analytics, to at least know how to write a proper SQL query. I think it's very helpful for your career so that you can both pull the data and analyze it and also do the requirements around it. So I think being able to balance all of them is great. But there's tons of jobs where you don't need to be a data analyst to get it, right? You don't need to be like a business intelligence person to get the job. You don't need to know Power BI or Tableau or any of those tools. There's lots of functional BA roles that you can do with that. But I think in general, if you want to be ready for the next century or even the next 10 years, you have to learn about generative AI. You have to upskill. You have to do probably a course on it somewhere, just so you can even be in the same room with people talking about it, to understand the lingo and what they're talking about and what it means. So I think maybe a course online, maybe if you find a boot camp somewhere, I think just being exposed to AI in general and how it works would be helpful for conversations you're going to have. I don't yet see anybody teaching a BA specific AI course. We're just not there. It's so new. But to be ready for what's coming, I think it's good to be upskilling and learning about it. I myself are going to be doing that so that I can understand what it all entails. And within your daily life, just practice using AI for stuff. Use ChatGPT, use DeepSeek to try to ask it questions and see what the results are, and see what else can you use it for outside of just regular one-to-one questions. Can it plan something for you? Look at the images that it can create, all the different things that they do. So try to incorporate AI in your maybe a personal life so you can see how it could be beneficial in the professional life, right? So it's a very interesting frontier. I would say it's a very interesting frontier. We did a live, I think it was April, with an AI project manager. I think it's good for you guys to watch that, where he went through the tools and how he thinks that we could benefit as BAs with the knowledge of these tools. So that would be a great live. You can go watch that to see what we talked about then. But yeah, this is amazing stuff, and I think for every BA, it will be great to take a course in AI and just be ready, even though you don't use it every day in your job, but just be ready to make sure that you can be with the cutting edge as the technology changes. Hope that helps.
Yes, that's great. And how about prompt engineering?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing about us as BA is that we already know how to ask good questions. Right? Part of our job is just asking good questions. And so now we have to formalize that in how we write the prompts to get the answer. Tell the AI how to behave and what kind of results we want. The better the prompts are, the better the results will be. So I think that's also a great part of doing any kind of AI course, which is how do you prompt, how do you write good prompts so that you can get the right results, and understand the background of how it's generating the answers anyway. It's going to help you to write good prompts as well. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Who's next? Nikishi. If I'm saying it wrong, correct me.
Sorry, I've asked my questions. Let me just put my hand down.
Oh, your hand was up from before. All right, cool. Alexander, welcome. What do you have for us?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Karaleise.
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 Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not from the Western country, so it can be some difficult. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your meeting. It's very interesting information. I have I don't think clearly about business analyst, but about support processes, about searching for job. I have very vast experience. I am applied mathematician, and I worked as a programmer and as a business analyst about a decade. So it's not a problem for me to work in this field. But I've got problems with my immigration and with my searching for a job in this brutal, in fact, job market. What do you think about strategies of job searching? Many said that today better to use only one resume and show this resume for everyone and try to apply with only one document and not to waste time to tailor, because the conversation is very low, about 10% or maybe even less. But many employers want specific business analysts. It seems like they do not understand that the whole role of business analyst is about adaptability, about using our core skills in different industries. What do you think? Should we use our old-fashioned sniper strategy or use only one resume, or maybe just go on foot and knock the door? Someone
block the door. You can't come in until you give me a job.
It's also the good strategy. Someone got the job in this way. What do you think about business analysts and job search for this role?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I like to piggyback off the fact that you said the employers don't really understand, and it's true. Employers, I don't know. I often say that we have a body called the IIBA, and I always chide them to say we need to do more to help the employers to know what our role is, and to even give us a proper job title when they're looking for talent. So there's a big fight that I have, and one of my pet peeves is that the employers, they still don't understand what a BA is, and they don't
they do not know about what we are doing.
Yeah. And they don't even put the right things on the job. So you read the job and you're like, but this is not a BA role. Like, why does it say all this stuff? This is like an admin role. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So we have that to fight, but we can't win all the battles, right? So in terms of you searching for a job, and you mentioned about immigration and stuff like that, I'll address that in a minute. But in general, I think that you don't need to have a separate resume for every job that you apply for. I think you can have one resume, but you got to make sure that one resume is on point. The one resume needs to be hitting it every day, right? So in other words, what are some of the things you need to have on your resume as a BA? The resume, first of all, this is your first document. You are coming in to say that you are good at documentation, that you're going to be great in helping with the stakeholders, you're going to be good at communication, and you're going to be organized, all the stuff that a BA needs to be. If we take a look at your resume and we don't see that exemplified in the resume, yeah, that's not going to work. So when you have a resume that it's not clear what you're saying, like some of your bullet points don't really make a good logical sense. Like the formatting is one thing. You guys can use ChatGPT and help to get the formatting. But sometimes what you're saying in the resume doesn't really match to somebody who's worked as a BA, right? So you got to be careful of, some people I know will do ChatGPT the whole resume, but ChatGPT sometimes confuses BA with data analyst. And so they mix in things sometimes that you have to reread it and make sure, okay, this is not applying, this is not applying. So you can't just leave the AI to create a resume, right? You have to put effort into it. And then some people, when they do it themselves, there's little errors here and there. Like for example, in one company or in one bullet point, you're mentioning how you work on the project, and you're also mentioning that you write user stories and you write BRD, and you're basically taking on all of both methodologies in the same bullet point, which is a little confusing, right? So somebody who's aware of how to work as a BA might be confused about what are you saying, and they might throw your resume because they're like, this is not true, right? Or sometimes people account for, there's a saying that you should put numbers on there, like qualifying numbers, right? So 70% increase in this or 50% increase in that. So people put these random numbers on, and they try to try to claim that they've done all this stuff. So in other words, because of my business analysis, I helped the company achieve 50% more sales, right? But that's not true, because you can't tie what you did with that end result, even though it's related. It helps.
Such information about sales and about my work, it's not connected.
Exactly. It helps. You help to get there, but it's a whole team effort. It's you, the BA, the QA, the developers, all of these people, the salespeople, everybody. So don't claim things that you personally can't claim. It's a whole team effort. So those are some of the things. So I think if you have one well-written resume that addresses everything that they want out of a BA, because even though different jobs have different specific things, if you address all of the different things in one resume, you can cover that. For example, you have a bullet point that talks about writing requirements, writing BRD, and then another job, maybe you talk about agile, writing user stories, running the sprint, doing running the stand-ups or the retrospective, all of these different sprint ceremonies. So now you've covered both waterfall and you've covered agile. Another one, you might talk about your process improvement and the type of process flow diagrams you've created. So if you have a mix of those things across your resume, you're kind of covering all of it, right? But if you see a job that you're like, this is exactly the job for me, it's perfect, I think it has everything, fine, go ahead and tweak your resume and make it match exactly that one and then send that out. But to think that you're going to go rewrite a resume for every job you apply for, it's an exercise in futility, I think. You just be spending a lot of time spinning your wheels, spinning around, and you're going to get frustrated faster. So I think having one well-written, well-organized, well-documented, very clear, very focused resume for a BA role. This may not apply to other jobs, but for the BA, it will be better, because most people who are applying or are looking for a BA, they're looking for you to write requirements, to be able to lead the team, to run refinement sessions, to deliver documentation. That's the main thing they want in a software development project, at least, and process improvement. So once you cover those things, that should be enough to have it on one resume. Yeah. So that's part of the strategy. The other strategy is, people say if you put up your resume on LinkedIn, for example, like you upload it, that way you can do quick applies. That's easier for you to get the resume out. But also, sometimes don't be discouraged by the number of applicants. So there's this thing where, okay, I need to be the first to apply. Yes, you should be. That's great. If you can get your resume in first, that's great. But sometimes you look at a job that's been there for a week, and then you're like, oh, it's had 500 applicants. Why even bother? Right? Don't worry about that, because the quality of the applications coming across may not be good. So they might still look at yours. So don't worry about the number of applicants before you. It's a vanity metric. Don't worry about that. The other thing I see people worried about is they don't meet every single thing that's on the job description or the requirements. For example, they might say you need expertise in some random tool you've never heard of, right? Don't worry about that. Tool is a tool. You can learn tools. Don't worry about tools. Or they might say, I need you to have, like you mentioned about specific BA roles. So for example, it's a Salesforce BA. If they say you must have expertise in Salesforce, then okay, fine. You're not going to get through the interview without that. But if they say preferred to have Salesforce background, Don't disqualify yourself because it's just a preference. It's just a wish list. They wish they had that. But if they got you, they'll probably take it. They take what they can get. So look for ways that you can qualify and not look for ways that you disqualify yourself. All right. So that's kind of another mindset shift that you can take. All right. Thank you for that question. I appreciate that. Annie, you had your hand up for a while. Go ahead.
Quick question. So, another friend of mine, and then you just said that you are not allowed to use ChatGPT at work.
Mm-hmm.
So, what other tools can assist you if you're talking about AI? What other tools can assist you? She works for military or gov tech, so she can't. They don't use ChatGPT, but she has another laptop that she uses it to, where she's able to get her information. So, how does that work?
Oh, I use ChatGPT personally on my personal laptop. I'm just
Okay,
saying
so
that we can't use it in the job. So if you're trying to be an AI BA, right? Some tools are not available in the job setting, like with the laptop. So for example, I work at a bank. They give me their own laptop. I have to use their laptop to do my work. I can't just go to ChatGPT on their laptop because they don't allow that, and you can't upload certain details, and you can't even send email. Actually, I can't do anything on that laptop. So you only can work. That's all you do on that laptop, right? But you can use it personally on your own laptop to help with your resume. Yeah. But I also want to, yeah. But in terms of becoming a more futuristic BA, I'm saying you should get used to using the tool. So even though they may not allow Chat GPT, they may allow other things. So for example, Teams has its own AI. Google Meet has, Gemini. There's other things that you can use. And in my case, we actually built an AI for not just BA, but anybody who's asking a question, like common questions, and the AI will generate an answer that's related to our product and our services, right? So there's many ways that they're trying to incorporate AI in your daily work.
okay.
So it's helpful for every BA to just upskill, like the person said before, learn about prompt engineering, learn about generative AI, learn machine learning to an extent. You don't have to go all the way, like you're not gonna code for machine learning, but just understand some of the jargons and like an overview or introductory course would be helpful. And if you work for a company that's moving towards AI, can you get into that project? Is there a way? I mean, you don't have much control over that. I'm still struggling with that myself. But if there's a way that you can get close to it, to just to see what's the difference, how is it working, and try to build that so you can put on your resume, that would be helpful in the future. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
All right, cool. Margot, you again. What's up?
Hi. So, I have a quick question. In your opinion, how should you be for a year's experience when you're shooting for a BA role? And what I mean by that is, so I got laid off last year, but I was in a BA role for like a year and 4 months before I got laid off.
Yeah.
And the role that I landed was a mid to senior level role. Prior to that, I was not a BA, but I worked in ServiceNow. And so I had experience within the platform and then became a ServiceNow BA. So after that, and so the experience I have directly with BA was like a year and 4 months. And therefore, when I look at jobs that were adjacent to this mid to senior, they're wanting 5 years plus of experience. But I technically only have a year and 4 months. So I just ignore that experience requirement and just kind of shoot for whatever I feel like I can do.
Listen, don't worry about that, because even with a year, you can start. If you've had very formal BA role, then you could even go into a senior BA. The reason why I say formal is because some people call the BA job BA, but when you get in there, it's nothing like what I talk about on my channel or what I teach you guys about. So it's kind of their blend of what a BA is. So you don't really feel like you've gotten enough of the real BA experience. So you might not want to go into a senior BA role because of that. But if you have a year and a half as a BA, it's plenty to qualify for a job that asks for 5 years, because you more than likely has been doing business analysis without the title. And that's what you can say, that you've been working in this thing, you've been working with stakeholders, you've been writing documentation, you've been doing analysis, but you never had a formal title in your previous roles. And now that we've been working for this other company that you just got laid off for, and you've been formally working with that, you really have a lot of experience that you can qualify for and you can use towards this new role. So you'll talk around that, but I don't think you should be too worried about that 5 year. I'll even say to you that sometimes in the interview, they don't always even remember what they put on the job description. Sometimes they don't even remember. They just come in and they have questions for you, and based on how you present, based on how you answer, the interview can flow through, right? So that may not even come up, right? You might be worried about something that doesn't come up. And one of the places that people shoot themselves in the foot is when they start their resume by, you have your professional summary. And they start off by saying, I have 5 years, or in your case, I have 1.5 years of experience as a business analyst. I'm very adept at writing documentation, blah, blah, blah. Who asked you?
Right.
Right? Why are you volunteering information that could give you questions in the interview? You just put you're a professional business analyst, adept in documentation, blah, 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 blah. Number of years experience should only be mentioned if they ask you directly. You don't have to like preemptively put it up there, especially when you don't have many years. Like me, I have 15 years. If I want to put that, that's great, because that's more than enough. But if you don't have it, you don't need to lead with that, right? And then the other place that people fall is that when they ask you, tell me about yourself, and they start rattling off, I have how many years of experience. Nobody asked you that. They asked you about yourself. So you talk about yourself personally, and then you pivot into your professional, and you mention the things that they're looking for in the job that you're applying for, right? So you make sure it's contextual, it's relevant to the job. So you don't have to, highlight experience when you don't have that many. You can really avoid getting into that detail. If they ask you specifically, you can give them the number that they asked for, because you know that you've had the title, but you've been working in it without the title. And so,
Right.
you can always, wiggle your way around that question. All right, cool. I have some other questions on the live and I never got to, so I'm going to go through them right now if I have some time. I know. Oh, we're out of time, actually. Oh, my goodness. We are out of time, but I'm going to spend the next maybe 15 minutes on this, and then I might have to drop. But let me get to some of the questions here on the live. So this person asks, could you provide the additional titles of the BA role? I can search for job hunting. Yeah, so product analyst, product owner, but you got to be careful with the product owner, because sometimes the product owner is exactly what the BA does. They just don't know they need a BA. They put product owner. And the story behind that, I always tell it, is when they came up with Scrum, they had 3 roles, right? Product owner, developer, and Scrum Master. They left us out completely. They forgot about the BA. We were not a part of it. We were just bumped in with developers. Everybody's in developers, QA in developers, everybody, in the same bucket. So when they go to hire, they literally hire developers, Scrum Masters, and PO. And then they realize, oh yeah, we need a BA, and so that's where there's so much confusion about the BA role in the job market. But we'll solve that later. So product analyst. Sometimes they even have project analyst, product owner. Sometimes they have reporting analyst. I mean, it's kind of all over the place, but you can search for those to start with. Business systems analyst sometimes, but it doesn't mean that you're more on the development side. It just means that you're working with systems, so they just call it business systems analyst. So those are some of the names that I've seen more common, but again, you just have to read the job responsibility to see exactly what it is that they're asking for you to do. All right, other one. How do you handle demanding stakeholders from different departments based on their requirements going into the sprint? So anybody looking for a job, listen up to this answer, because this is exactly the question they ask on interviews almost 100% of the time. They always ask a question like this, which is, how do you handle difficult stakeholders? And I have plenty of videos on that, but I'll answer you in general. So when you're dealing with difficult stakeholders, part of the thing is you're doing a job, right? You don't really have to make your life harder. You don't have to make your life harder. So if there's somebody else that's not difficult that you can get the information from, just pivot and go to them. Right? If you can get it somewhere else, get it, because you don't need to be fighting with people and their personalities and their stress. So if you can find somebody else who's more agreeable, that's great. If there is nobody else that can help you, that happened to me. I worked in a small company. There's only one call. Okay. So if you can avoid the strong personality, fine. If you can't avoid them, then sometimes you show up as a BA and you're an agent of change. They know that when you show up, it's because you're going to change something. And sometimes they are married to the way it's been. Sometimes they are just comfortable in how they do things and they don't want to change. So they don't want to talk to you and they impede you. So if you can find a way to present yourself in a non-combative or non-threatening way, like, hey, I'm just trying to work on this project. It's going to be very helpful for you. I know that there's been some concerns about this and this step in the process, and I'm going to be helping you to find a better way to do that so that you don't have to spend as much time doing this repeat work. You don't have to do all of these throwaway work. You don't have to be sending out these manual reports and doing all of these steps. So try to upsell the benefit that they would have if they work with you, right? So you're not there to like give them more work or change their job or even get rid of their job, but you're there to make their life better as an employee. So if you can try to sell it that way, that's a better way. Now, if you have different departments and different people in different departments have different opinions about the requirements, it's a good sign that you need to bring everybody together. So stop going to one people over here, over there, and then you end up with all kinds of different requirements. Put a meeting together, get all the stakeholders in the room, put the problem that you're trying to solve out there, and then let them talk amongst themselves. And then you kind of just prod and, prompt and get them towards the end goal that you're trying to get them to. And it typically works because, at the end of the day, we're doing a job. People just want the best for the job and for themselves. So if they can find a solution together, they will. So it removes the pressure off you to come up with the best answer, but it kind of shares it to them in the room to say, this is what we're trying to solve for. This is where we are. This is what we're proposing. And if they don't say anything, then you go ahead with it because nobody said no and they had the opportunity to. So there you go. Your hands are clean. But otherwise, you can facilitate a good discussion where all the strong personalities can get their piece and they feel that they've contributed. And normally that helps to solve difficult stakeholders, right? So building relationship with people is very helpful. If you can try to get to know them personally before you ask them for their input on something, that's very helpful. Pulling people together is also very helpful because in a group, they tend to want to solve more than they want to confront. And then giving them the benefit that it will have for them, I think is also very good. So y'all can take that away in your interviews. All right, let's see. We have a few more here before we got to close. Here's one. Can you explain more about how your role is integrated with banking? My role personally, so I work in banking. So I'm a banking, that's my, that's my niche. I've tried to get out of banking. I got hired in different industries, but I always end up coming all the way back. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is my calling in life. So I don't know. I've tried to work for other companies and I worked for them, but then like I told you, we got laid off. I keep getting kicked out of it somehow. Most of my companies got laid off. One company, the product wasn't selling and obviously they closed down permanently, not a layoff. So the way I leave companies is not a lot of times I've been laid off. And then there's one company I left because they changed the whole staff and I was a product manager there and we got a whole bunch of people that came in and then they kind of started cutting me out of stuff. So they'll have meetings and I wouldn't know. And then I'm over here trying to manage the product and they're doing something different. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to fight with y'all. Out, exit. So I'm very good at leaving. Wherever I am, I'm not comfortable, I'm out. So yeah, but banking has just been my niche. I like working in banking. It presents a lot of challenges because you have a lot of security to think about. You have a lot of customers to think about. There's so many different types of banking customers, from wealth to business banking, retail banking, credit card loans, mortgages. So there's a lot of different functionality within banking and I've been exposed to all of them. So it keeps me on my toes. It's always something new, even though it's old because it's been around for so long, you'd think that they would know how to do it by now. But the banks are always behind the other technology. So as Uber comes out with how you can quickly order a cab or Amazon is 2-day delivery, now the banks feel like, okay, people expect the bank to be as fast and as reliable as other industries. So they have to constantly keep up with how they deliver things. Like you have to have Zelle now. You have to be able to do all these fancy stuff. Like you can't just say, oh yeah, we work, people put their money with us and that's it. No, you have to have these new features to keep up with what the expectation is from the public. And so it keeps me on my toes, and I like that. So that's kind of what my role is to be a BA in banking. So hope that answered your question. All right, last one before I go to somebody has their hand up. So this one says, this is Day with me. Is it too difficult to get a job as a fresher in this field? No. So when you say fresher, I would assume somebody just out of college, right? It's not too difficult. And unfortunately, if we had like internships, that would have been a great way for you to get started. But I don't see a lot of internships. And I also don't see a lot of junior BA roles that you can say, let me go in here as a junior, learn under somebody, and then I can feel more comfortable doing the job. So I don't see a lot. There are, but it's not a lot. So it is kind of hard to get started. I would say the best way to get started if you have never worked before is probably to get a job in something similar like support. I know people don't want to do tech support, but it helps you to become a better troubleshooter, which helps you to think, which helps you to become a BA, right? Because you have no work experience at all. If you have work experience already, then you probably were doing some business analysis before you became a BA, so that's different. But if you've never worked, you have no idea what the working world is like, to jump into a BA role is a little bit of a big leap, because as a BA, you are a middle manager off the rip. You're managing the tasks, you're managing the project. You may not have direct reports, but you're managing stuff. So it might be a lot to ask for you to do unless you have like a junior role where they don't have that high expectation. So if you can find a junior role, that's great. If you can find internship, that's also even great, especially the paid ones, because you want to get money, right? So that would be good too. But if not, then you can take an entry-level job like a tech support job, like maybe working as a trainer, working any job that gets you a little bit closer to the BA or to software development. That would be a better job to start with, and then try to pivot, because now you'll have actual work experience under your belt, and then you try to pivot into a BA role. So that would probably be my suggestion. All right, so a couple people have their hands up. Alexander, go ahead. And then Margot. I have like a few minutes to go, so go ahead.
Speaking about difficult stakeholders, yes, it's obvious that we should talk in their language and talk about bringing the profits for them. Okay, that's good. What about the most difficult cases? Is it okay to answer that I can call my lead to talk about these difficult stakeholders? We know sometimes it's the only option to solve the problem, like administrative option.
Alexander, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. The reason why I don't recommend it is because I don't know why it's so hot in here. I don't know, I'm sweating already. The reason I don't recommend it is because you want to show leadership, you want to show ownership, you want to show that you can solve a problem without having to call your manager. You don't want to, when you're going for an interview, you want to present that you have experience and you have the best approach, and you can actually solve problems, and you can find the way to navigate it and alleviate your leadership from having to step in. So I would not recommend that you suggest anything where the solution requires somebody else. All of your stories in your interview is going to be where you, by yourself, was able to use your creativity, your analysis skills, your tenacity, your communication, whatever skills you have, soft skills, to bring the solution from wherever it is to something better. And you did it by yourself.
In real life, it's not impossible.
Well, you have to find a story that shows that in the interview. You better find a way to say that. In no story do you ever say that the manager had to come in and help you. So we have to figure it out. We have to find a story that's that. Because what will it communicate? Because remember, they kind of want to hire you by the time you get into the interview. They're halfway there, right? So you just need to push them over the edge So anything you can tell them to show how you are going to be an autonomous leader, you're going to be taking the best approach, you're going to be resolving difficult situations. That's what they want. That's why they're asking that question, because it's very common for you to find difficult stakeholders as a BA. It's going to be guaranteed. So if that's always going to happen and you're always going to have to get leadership to come in, then that sends an impression that, well, this person going to need a lot of hand holding and they don't want to hire somebody like that. So you have to give them the impression that you by yourself will take all the steps necessary to be able to resolve this without having to go to the leadership. Now, if it's something extreme and they keep asking you follow-up question, maybe you could say eventually you discuss it with your leadership, but that should be like a very, very last resort. Shouldn't be it should be at the forefront at all. Yeah.
Of course, it's last option, but sometimes
I wouldn't even mention it, to be honest with you. I'll give you examples, right? I give this example all the time. We had a very difficult stakeholder, and he was the only person that knew how to do the stuff that I wanted to do. There's nobody else to go to, and he would not you have to show how much energy you put into resolving this, right? So you'd set up meetings, he wouldn't show up. You'd send him Teams message, he wouldn't respond. You would try to corner him physically in the meeting, he wouldn't be there. So how do you get a person like that to to respond? And so in your answer, you have to show your ingenuity. Like, how do you figure this out? In my case, I had a trip that I was going to, and this person was very knowledgeable about the place I was going. And so somebody said, you should ask him about the best ways to get the trip to be successful, like where you should go, which hotels, whatever. And that's what I started to talk to him about. And by doing that, I built a rapport with him, and he was able to actually answer the question about the project I was working on. Because now we started to talk, and we had a little bit more casual. And I said, by the way, I'm working on this, so how about that? And he helped me with it, right? So that you can show how you build relationships, how you have good rapport, like all of these qualities. That's what you have to do in the interview. In real life, it might be different, but that's always your story. Okay. All right. Margot, you had your hand up for quite a bit. Go ahead, please.
Okay, last question. Do you think, because I know people, they talk about, asking for too much can kind of like get you cut from job opportunities. Mm-hmm. But do you think the opposite is true as well? Like if you go too low for your, I guess, money requirements, do you think that people don't take you as seriously because, or are you going so low?
Yeah, it's a sticky spot. I hate it when recruiters call me and they try to play games with me. Like I really it makes me lose respect for you like immediately. If sorry, I'm trying to figure out what happened to my live right here. I don't know. I'll try to get it back up. Okay. This is the Instagram, by the way. So I don't like when recruiters play games with my money. Okay, this is my first impression of you. Don't joke around. So when they call you and they ask you how much are you looking to get paid, it's like a trap, right? They want you to say a number, but they already know how much they're offering. So why are you asking me when you know what's on the table, right? So it's on you to it's incumbent on you to make sure that you know what you're worth, right? You know what the market is paying. I always say right now in the US, the minimum any BA should be making is $85K. $85,000 in the US is the minimum, especially if you have a year experience. If you're just coming in and from college, okay, fine, you might be lowball to $75K. But at 1 year and a half, you should be making at minimum $85K. When you get a senior role, you're in the six figures, right? So, but that's what it is. So I feel like anybody who's calling you and they're asking how much you want to make and they're looking to give you $60,000, I think there's a big low ball. So knowing how much you're worth is important. And then I would ask them, how much does this job pay? And if they're like, oh yeah, but I want you to tell me how. So we're going to go back and forth for a little bit, because I want you to see that why are you hiding what the salary is? Because you're looking for an employee, right? So I need to know if it's worth my time also. Because if you're going to pay me $50K, I'm not even going to talk to you. So we need to know what's on the table. So when they tell you how much it is, so in some cases, they try to go back and forth. For me, I have short patience. I'll just tell them what my number is. And then they'll say, oh, well, you know, we have a little bit less. It's like $5,000 less or something like that. Are you still interested? And I would say, well, let's go through the interview process. And then at the end, if you make me an offer, we can revisit this and we can see what the total compensation is, which means my vacations and my day offs and my whatever. So I'm not eliminating myself. I'm saying I'll still be willing to take that, but you know that you're coming in below what I expect. So when you do make me an offer, you better make me a good offer because you knew from before that this was my baseline and I'm already going down. So if you had a range, let's say in some random range, it's 75 to 95, and I told you I'm looking for 100K, but you said, oh, well, the maximum is 95. Would you still be willing? I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's a little less than what I was expecting, but let's go through the interview process and let's see at the end what is the total compensation, and we can negotiate then because we might have some wiggle room there that I could live with, right? So you want to be at the top end. Because when you get the job, you're going to give the job so much more than they pay you. You're going to spend your time away from your family. You're going to be working on requirements. You're going to be documenting. You're going to be doing overtime. Especially if you're a salaried worker, you're going to be doing lots of overtime that you're not going to get paid for. So let's just negotiate properly at the beginning. Now, if you put a low figure because you're trying to get the job, you're only kind of lowballing yourself. Because you're going to do the job anyway. You're going to do the job of the person who's getting paid the right amount anyway, but you're just going to get less because you're trying to get in. So I would say don't be overly expensive, right? But try to be within the range that's acceptable, that's normal for our economy. Try to figure out what that is. In the US, this is public knowledge, right? You can just Google how much is a BA earning in whatever area, and you get that. In other countries, it's not so well known, but try to find out. Try to find out what the salary range is so you can ask for a reasonable salary and try to be a little bit on the cusp of the edge. So for me, a person who is a year and a half, you can ask for 95. If they have something less, yeah, okay. If they want to go down to 90, okay, fine. But whatever. If you're a senior, you should be making 6 figures and above. There is no reason to be below 6 figures if you're a senior BA. No reason. So that's what the market is like right now in the US. So use that knowledge to your benefit.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Guys, we're well over time, but I had so much fun. I didn't even go to the idea board. I don't have time for the idea board, but I had so much fun with y'all today. I look forward to meeting with you guys next month of August. We meet again every first Monday. The first Monday of every month we meet and we talk about business analyst topics. And you can go to karaleise.com to sign up and you will have the meeting invite so you can ask your questions and you can be very much entertained and informed at the same time. So I'm thankful for all of y'all for being here. I have to drop. I have another meeting, but thank you all. Love you guys and hope to see you next time here on our channel. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Karaleise.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody on the live. Thank you for joining. Bye bye. Oh, I'm trying to figure out how to end this thing. Bye, everybody.